I feel like it's been so long since I've had some orcs on the channel, and we've got a good scrap for you guys today, featuring some beautiful orcs. We've got Grantovich rocking the Orc War Boss today. He's going to be fighting against Sgtsmith with his Aversa Assassin. Love this matchup, because out of all the Ordo Malleus heroes, you know the Aversa Assassin is the one that brings the most damage, and he is the one that loves to be stuck in melee the most. Well, actually, that's not even true, because he has that Executioner pistol that's great at range. But anyway, leads to a lot of carnage when you've got an Aversa Assassin sent to blow up a few orcs. Let's see how it goes. Fedrid Folly is going to be the map. We've got the IST running down the side here right now. We've got Sluggers going to meet them. Obviously early on the Sluggers can't do too much if they hop into the garrisons here, but the worry is that the Sluggers could upgrade to the Burners, and then you're looking at potentially wipes on the IST. So Sgtsmith doesn't even want to risk that. He's just going to soft retreat away and shoot at those Sluggers. What's happening on the far side? You've got the Aversa Assassin ambushing some shooter boys. They don't want any of that. They're going to die very quickly. That bolt pistol is very powerful. Kills one of the shooters. Quite impressive, actually. Even with a basically instant retreat there, they end up losing a model. But the problem right now for Sgtsmith is these poor IST have got no hope against this blob right now. They can't even deal with shooters on their own. So he's going to lose his natural power. He really needs to get his strike squad over there. Burners are already up for Grantovich. So we could be looking at a situation where he actually decaps his natural power, which would be a great advantage for Grantovich early on. I actually think it was a bit of a mistake moving his shooters away like this, because now he can't get the decap because the IST is shooting his Sluggers. If he left the shooters here, then his Sluggers would be safe to cap whilst the shooters covered. And what did the shooters achieve down here? Nothing. They just get wrecked by the EA and the strike squad. So misplays from Grantovich. And actually now this is quite nice for Sgtsmith. It's annoying fighting the war boss with hard boys here. Does manage to kill one of the strike squad models, but does eventually force off the war boss. But this is decent for Sgtsmith because he didn't actually have his power decapped. He has owned this power the entire time, which is noted, giving him decent income, and the Sluggers got the Burners. So for that reason we see no extra units coming out for the Orcs yet. They've only got one gen up, because also the war boss has opted for the Cyborg implants. Tiny bit of HP regen, decent amount of max HP, and the big stomp, which stuns for a very long duration, does really good knockback and damage to nearby units. Basically, it's a very nice counter to enemy melee, which is going to be handy for that war boss, because there's now interceptors on the field in addition to the strike squad and the EA. So he needs to keep that war boss near his shooters to protect them via the big stomp. But even then, he doesn't have a lot of follow-up, given he's going to be fighting 3 melee squads, which can kill the shooters very quickly. So Grantovich compositionally right now is in a bad spot. He needs more units. Honestly, Bang Bang Hammer, he's already got it. He's already got it. But I was going to say Bang Bang Hammer and another Slugger squad would not be a bad build right now. But, you know, Stormboy is also good, power melee against all these melee. And I wouldn't get the Painboy yet, but if he gets another melee squad, then you can go for the Painboy, and I think that'd be decent. If you do go that heavy, though, he is going to need to get a decent bash off. That was a bit of a optimistic big stomp, I think. A little bit early. Beautiful special attack, though. Very lucky. Oh, just imagine if he had the big stomp now. However, Chemnades are out for the Aversa Assassin. In spite of how deadly that whole thing looks, the Chemnades aren't here for damage. They in fact don't do any damage. But what they do, yeah, I said do. What they do is they suppress nearby enemies, they negate any HP regen, and the most important thing is they reduce the damage that the units do by 50%. So, and they don't do friendly fire. So you throw them down in a big melee fight like that, and all of a sudden 50% less damage being dealt by the enemy melee, and they're suppressed, and they don't have any healing. It's just an amazing ability to swing a melee fight. You can use it against ranged troops, but the problem is they can dodge the grenades quite easily. Melee troops can't when they're stuck in a committed fight in melee. Oh, look at that. I was pulling up sleeves on my shirt, and... Okay, no, interceptors don't manage to wipe these shooters. I thought they were gonna, but sluggers were there to counter-initiate them and persuade them not to. Painboy is on the field. I think the problem here is that there's just not enough melee DPS right now. Whilst the Painboy gives you that sustain, and that's nice, I feel like he just needs more DPS to tear through these strikes and interceptors. The other thing is that Chemnades with the regen negation completely negate the heal over time from the Painboy. And the Painboy's heal over time is 2/3 of the actual healing that he does, so really those Chemnades are a very hard counter to the Painboy's heal. I think maybe Grantovich should have considered that before going for the Painboy. I think another Slugger Boy squad or some Storm Boys, because of their power melee, would have been better. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, I really think this Painboy is going to struggle to be relevant. You know, even as the game goes on, the Painboy's not going to get any better. The Chemnades are still going to counter him, and the DPS options from the EA will really risk Painboy dying constantly. So here you go, you see the heal coming down. Big Stomp comes out, Chemnade comes out, boom, the healing stops, and the stun didn't hit enough of the troops here. The sluggers are too low on HP, so now all the Bang Bang Hammer damage buffs are kind of irrelevant, because all he's buffing right now is the Painboy, who's getting flipped around, has to retreat or he's gonna die, and basically all of this right here could have just been done by the Warboss on his own. Oh my god, the teleport forward. Ugh. We don't really want to just... Yeah, you don't want to take this fight as Sgtsmith. Just leave that Warboss alone. Shoot him with Stormbolters and Lasguns. Don't fight this guy in melee. This is brutal. I mean, a lot of investment going into this Warboss here, and a lot of red investment, not just resource investment. Chemnades will be nice. Might kill another strike squad. No, okay, just manages to avoid losing another strike squad model. Nearly killing this guy. Probably going to kill him with the range attacks. Oh, beautiful for Sgtsmith. He's going to be really satisfied with that kill. I'm satisfied, and I was just watching that fucking Warboss. So tanky. Such a pain in the ass to deal with when you've got a melee-centric build. But map control is extremely red. Sorry, God. Map control is extremely blue. But Sgtsmith is doing his best right now to make it a little more red. A nice little attempt at a gem bash there from Grantovich, but unfortunately doesn't manage to get the gen and loses 2 shooters for it, which is a bit sad. I think the Neuro Gauntlet is kind of an obvious choice here. It's so good against orcs. So freaking good, it rips them to pieces. And when they get the knobs on their melee squad, you just rotate your EA to make sure he faces the knob, and just rip the knob to pieces with the Neuro Gauntlet. Chemnade goes down again, gonna shut down this attack. Justicar is now out on the strike squad. Is that Bio Meltdown? Yeah, it is. So once again, sluggers get wrecked. And the Chemnade just makes the Painboy pointless. But look at this frigging Warboss. This is again why you need the Neuro Gauntlet ASAP, because it will shred this Warboss. Whereas at the moment the Warboss is just, shrugging off all these attacks, bleeding a strike squad model. God, he's annoying. I don't know how valuable the Bang Bang Hammer's been. I guess, yeah, it's been worth it, even without going for double sluggers, because it is a really powerful melee weapon. 75 DPS in tier 1 is nuts. It's a lot more than what he could have done without it. Was that Bio Meltdown? No, it wasn't, because this is Bio Meltdown. So that wasn't Bio Meltdown, that was just the sort of poisony effect from the Chemnades. I feel like the Chemnades should probably have a little bit of a different effect because it looks exactly like the damage over time from the Bio Meltdown, which is quite confusing, I must admit. And the Bio Meltdown there does secure the victory here for Sgtsmith in this little push. Honestly, this Pain Boy, like, it's just not fucking doing anything. He had to use Ard Boys there to keep it alive. It's not doing all though, because every time there's a big melee fight, he just drops a Chemnade, and then his heal over time is negated. It's a beautiful piece of kit. It's nice to see it being used correctly. I don't know why he went for a Pain Boy. I mean, he's probably not even aware of that interaction, but even without that, I feel like you just don't have enough melee. Need more DPS. Either way, Dreadnought is now out on the field for Sgtsmith. This is looking rough for Grantovich. Grantovich does have a good VP lead. I've noticed he's had the double cap over here on the elevated terrain for most of the game. So he is up quite a bit in the VPs. But how is he going to deal with this Dreadnought? He can obviously get some tank busters, probably should. Get the Power Claw on the War Boss, probably should. And then again, it's a question of how does he then defend the tank busters from the Strike Squad and the Interceptors. And that really is the question. I actually think the Flamer right now is so great. Melts some sluggers. Not great against the War Boss himself though, I guess. Jeez. Decent big stomp there. Hits 3 of the Interceptors. Okay, so the Dreadnought focuses on the Pain Boy, gets rid of him. Now going to turn around to the Sluggers, and the Sluggers are in trouble here. Yeah, Ard Boys dropped on them. I think that was needed. They probably would have wiped without that, honestly. Maybe. Now the War Boss is isolated. Oh, that's greedy from Sgtsmith. There was no way you were going to kill that knob with 150 HP left. So yeah, tank busters are on the field, but they just get tied up by Strike Squad. That's what I was worried about. And the War Boss doesn't have his Power Claw yet, so he can't do anything to the Dreadnought. He's going to get a beautiful big stomp here. Forces the retreat on the Strike Squad because they would have actually been knocked into the base turret. And now the tank busters are free again to get a few shots off. In fact, the Dreadnought's looking isolated. The Interceptors teleport forward. The Dreadnought needs to be getting out. What is he doing? No, don't chase into the base. That was the moment that Sgtsmith had to get the Dreadnought away without it being shot. Okay, tank busters need to pursue. What are they doing? Move forward, tank busters. Pursue. He's not going to get the kill on the Dreadnought here, but that was a good opportunity. Chemnade's come down again. Yes, so Neuro Gauntlet is now on the way. Okay, Grantovich survives. He didn't lose his gen farm to the Heavy Flamer Dreadnought, which, you know, is a big win for him. I thought he might have. I think he could have put a bit more damage onto the Dreadnought, which is always valuable, because even if you don't kill the Dreadnought, then the IST aren't running around capping these points like they have been, because they've got to sit there and repair the Dreadnought instead. Acolyte for the IST. No Sergeant, but he's got the Acolyte. Cool. You don't see that too often. But the Acolyte is better as far as combat is concerned. At least the Acolyte gives you the damage resistance, whereas the Sergeant doesn't. The Acolyte's better in melee as well. Dreadnought Dreadnought going kind of insane in the middle, routing the Sluggers again. Still no Power Claw for the War Boss. Grantovich isn't going for it. That was weird. Teleported the Interceptors forward into the War Boss, which is a bit questionable in the first place. Just got hit by the big stomp. So he's going tier 3. So I'm guessing he wants a tank, which would be really good actually against this composition. There is no transferable AV. Well, I mean there is some. The EA can get the Melter Bomb, and the Dreadnought can get a multi-melter, but even with that, a tank should be able to handle it quite well. Certainly once the Dreadnought's dead, then AV is not present to deal with a tank. Heavy Flamer putting in some work here. Level 2 Dreadnought now. Killed a couple of gens, got the node, gets out of there. EA delaying. Ooh, EA goes down actually. See, this is the power of the Bang Bang Hammer. It's not only giving a damage buff, but a speed buff as well, so it's really quite scary what they can do to retreating units. when they've got a few buffs from that bang bang hammer. IST managed to... No, they didn't wipe the squad, but they managed to beat the shooter squad over here. Probably went into melee, I bet. Because I don't think they'd win that firefight with just the Acolyte and not the Sergeant. But if you go into melee, that Acolyte should be able to beat the shooter knob in melee. Grantovich is still leading on VPs quite significantly. Just under double of the VPs of Sgtsmith. Look at this, Sgtsmith is going tier 3 as well. And if you guys have been following my cast recently, I've cast a few games where Grey Knight Terminators come out, and oh boy, do the Grey Knight Terminators kick ass. That said, the Grey Knight Terminators, they're not really designed to deal with tanks, so I still think a looted tank would be fantastic right now. I really hope Grantovich is not going for knobs. Looking at his resources, he can probably get a tank, let's see. He can, he's not going for a tank, and that is a mistake. He needs to get a looted tank out right now. Killed that Dreadnought. That Dreadnought is a problem. For multiple reasons, that Dreadnought is a problem. What is Grantovich waiting for, I wonder? I mean, yeah. Wait, flash kits? Okay. But flash kits don't do AV, so the Dreadnought is going to remain a problem. Oh man. And then if Grey Knight Terminators come out, flash kits, I'm afraid, aren't going to cut it. It's great when you're playing 3v3 and you can get free squads of flash kits because you have enough time and everyone's just in a big blob guarding a VP. Well, triple flash kits are amazing there when they come out and just wipe squads outright, but I'm afraid in a 1v1, I just don't think they're going to cut it. Okay, VPs are getting stupid low for Sgtsmith though. Painboy is now on capping duty because that is the best thing he can do because he's useless in the fights. I mean, it sounds like I'm complaining about the Painboy. I'm not. The Painboy's a great unit, really good utility. It's just totally inappropriate for this matchup right now. It was a really bad choice. Come on, Sgtsmith though, you just need the Terminators, and I think he should roll through this army of Grantovich. Even the War Boss can't stand up to Terminators, though the Big Stomp will help, being able to stun them. He's got the Blasters, so you know, that is good DPS against Terminators, but obviously you just charge them and beat them up in melee. He's got so many melee squads with the Strikes and the Interceptors that one squad of Blaster Gits shouldn't be a problem. The problem right now, quite obviously for Sgtsmith, is the VPs. He's got this Dreadnought too, which, I don't know, it probably wants to get another upgrade right now. Flamer not doing a whole lot to flash kits. The melee upgrade would be nice. Even the multi-melter might not be a bad idea. Still, VP's bleeding for Sgtsmith. This is a problem. The IST doing? They were just guarding that VP on the south side, I guess. Southeast side. I don't know what the War Boss is doing right now. He's got it. Okay, right. I understand now. He was upgrading to the Power Claw. So, Grey Knight Dreadnought with a Flamer doesn't have melee resist because it is a ranged walker. Level 3 Dreadnought, this would be very sad to lose. Interceptors should be able to teleport in here, do the knockback. Yeah, and save it. They need to get out though. That thing has got ad boys and huge choppers. It's not a good fight. Psych-out grenade dropped by them before they retreat. That's nice. But this Flamer's not doing any damage. He needs to retreat. What is he doing? This is so risky. Okay, the War Boss gets out. Here's some Gits. Level 4 Strike Squad though, and you see this is the problem. That did a nice little bit of spike damage, but now they just tie it up in melee. I really don't like this Flash Gits choice. There's not enough melee for him to protect the Flash Gits. They just get run down like this. This was inevitable. Dreadnought's very low at this point, but it's actually quite deceptive because it's level 3. It's still got 300 vehicle armor HP, which is too much for the Slugger Boys to deal with. And here we go, Grey Knight Terminators are on the field, but there is 42 VPs left for Sgtsmith. It is now a 1-0 cap because Interceptors are on the job. This Dreadnought needs to get an upgrade, probably to the melee version so he gets even more HP and it doesn't have to be so scared of the War Boss, who is now approaching once again with his Power Claw. The Dreadnought's probably going to go down here. Tank Busters are in range, one more barrage comes off. Ooh, most of the missiles miss, however. Warboss turns his attention to the Terminators, does stun him. The EA is back in the action, level 6 Eversa Assassin, bloody hell. With that Neuro Gauntlet, getting shot to pieces at the moment, but it's closed the gap. This is another problem with the Flash Gits, look at that damage, absolutely horrendous damage against single targets. Yeah, Flash Gits, man. Not a great choice here. Terminators realising they were in a little bit too deep there. I'm going to teleport back. They need to regroup up on this hill. Sgtsmith can't afford to lose that top VP right now. If he lets Grantovich get a 2-1 cap over here, could be the end of him when he's this low on VPs. Probably should be getting the Incinerator on his Grey Knight Terminators. That would be quite handy. There's just a big blob of orcs here, and there's no real vehicle threats for him. We're getting repairs on the Dreadnought. We are, okay. Interceptors do have to back out. Not really any serious melee threats here to fight the Terminators though, just the War Boss, who will do decent damage. Okay, no, what am I talking about? The Slugger's right there. That is good DPS. The Terminators, they don't want this fight. Using Use Your Choppers on the War Boss, error. Should be using Use Your Choppers on the Sluggers, because you don't need the special attacks. They can't knock over the Terminators anyway, you're just using it for the damage. The DPS of the Sluggers is way higher, literally over double the DPS of the War Boss right now. But yeah, they kick the shit out of those Terminators. The Terminators need their support. They need a melee Dreadnought there. Emperor's Fist and that whole thing would have gone very differently. Or an Eversa Assassin with the Chemnades. The Eversa Assassin's here now. A little bit late though. He's shot to pieces. Has he just retreated? He could have thrown a Chemnade. Strikes and Interceptors can just run this through. Yeah, Grey Knight Dreadnought just forces melee on the Tank Busters. Yeah. This is the problem. Look at these 4 units here, just utterly useless when a couple of Sgtsmith's troops come together. So now Grantovich is going for his other Flash Gits. I suspect Grantovich must play a lot of team games. Flash Gits en masse in team games are insane. But it's tricky in 1v1. It's tricky because it takes too long. And the VPs are a problem. Grantovich is now under 200 VPs. VPs are starting to become a concern for Grantovich. And melee is weaker in team games as well because A, the maps are very laney, and B, it's tough to use melee in a team game because the enemies can get multiple armies to focus fire you. So it's very easy to wipe squads. In 1v1 that just isn't the case. Big bio meltdown there from the Eversa Assassin. Where's he gone? He died and exploded. Git's just getting tied up by the Grey Knight Dreadnought. Again, nothing really threatening it. Still level 3 though. Ooh, the Strike Squad are a higher level than the War Boss. War Boss is only level 3, Strike Squad are level 4, so you've seen there that the Strike Squads are proccing specials on the War Boss. That's weird, because remember the heroes can go to level 10, and the heroes, I believe, take less experience to level up than units. So typically you do see heroes being a higher level than the melee squads, and that then means that the melee squads are unable to get special attacks on the heroes. But the fact that the Strike Squad there were level 4 and the War Boss was only level 3, not good for the War Boss, getting knocked over by the special and obviously losing out on a lot of his potential damage there. Bash coming in from Grantovich at this point, I don't really know why. I mean, look, I guess it's XP and red, so better than nothing, I guess. The Grey Knight Dreadnought's going to rout them, whatever it's worth. Kind of pointless because ultimately they're not really achieving a whole lot. He needs to take this VP, that's the important thing. He'd have been much better off sending the interceptors to go deal with them, and then he could take the VP with the interceptors. The Grey Knight Terminators could have stayed mid, dealt with this Flash Gits Blaster Blob. So let's see what the Gits with Blasters can do to the Strike Squad. They should do some dirty damage to them. Let's see. That was just one squad. You see, just one burst from one squad. That's level 4 strikes as well. It's pretty good damage. But again, like I say, don't really do a whole lot against the Aversa Assassin since he's a single entity. So that's a problem. And they're just getting ran through. Look at this. Oh, such a bad purchase. Such a bad purchase. Shaking my head. War boss forced off again. Looted tank would have been great here. Looted tank, wipe out the Dreadnought, and then there's no AV on the field. Then you follow up with Knobs, which you buff with your Bang Bang Hammer War Boss. Just realised the Pain Boy went down at some point, don't know when he went down. Probably got killed while he was capping these VPs by the Interceptors. Interceptors scrapping very well with the Sluggers here, even though they've got Hard Boys activated. That is quite impressive. What level are these Sluggers? Level 3 versus level 4 Interceptors. Man, that one level difference is huge. Because you've seen that the Interceptors were constantly specialing the Sluggers, and the Slugger Knob is unable to get the specials onto the Interceptors. Brutal. And yeah, not even commenting on that Rox. I think that was a bit of a desperation Rox there. That was terrible. Completely missed everything. Massive Orc Blob. Most of it suppressed by the Chemnades into a Holocaust. Oh man. Yeah. See you later, boys! And Grantovich knows he can't win this now. He can't get back this VP up here. It's such an awkward map to do it on, Fedrid Folly. So easy to hold out this double cap. But there you go. I think obviously a lot of mistakes there from Grantovich compositionally. Really decent micro from him as well. Good ability usage, global usage in particular. But I think just compositional mistakes. Starting off with getting the Pain Boy, but then in tier 3 getting these double flash gates. No mate, no, what are you doing? Not the correct choice. Even straight knobs, I don't say it often, but just going straight knobs from tier 3 would have been better than this, and that is very rarely the case. But I think Looted Tank would have been the best thing, because if he went for straight knobs, this Dreadnought would just go melee mode, and it would still be a problem, and in theory Grey Knight Terminators beat the knobs as well, especially with Chemnade support, so you need the tank. The tank then kills the Dreadnought, the tank can kite the Terminators, but the Terminators will get a sidearm silencer, and these guys can get side cannons, so then you need the knobs to deal with them. But yeah, I think Grantovich had it, and just thrown it with some weird decisions. But a good game nonetheless. Decent scraps, you always get good scraps between the Orcs and the Ordo Malleus. Look at all the bodies everywhere. Love that shit. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Leave a comment and a like if you did enjoy. That will help me get more views, and I need the views. If you want a few more casts featuring this kind of thing, and by a few more I mean like 20 more, because you get the whole backlog, subscribe to my Patreon. If you don't want to subscribe permanently, just join it for a month, guys, and then binge watch all the content, and then get out of there. But you'll get bi-weekly uploads if you join that. Thank you. Torpid out.